Hi guys, this is Elisa Camille from contentedbyalisacamille.com, which is a blog that I have about my dating adventures. I'm celibate, single, and I live in Sydney, Australia, and let me tell you, I've got some stories. I had a really weird date the other day, a date that made me angry. Like, I was actually pissed after this date, which is very unusual. So let me tell you what happened. I had met this guy at a cafe, and we'd already had a first date, and the first date went really well. He seemed like a good guy. We got along. I was really comfortable with him. He's a big, tall German guy, and I like them big and tall. So I was excited about where this possibly was going. So of course the second date comes around, and I agreed to meet him in his neighborhood. Now, he doesn't drive because he's only here in Australia short term. He's on some temporary work visa. So I agreed to meet him in his neighborhood. Let me explain one little thing. I drive a nice car. I have an army green 2006 soft top Jeep Wrangler, right? People get a little excited when they see my car because oftentimes they've never driven in a Jeep before, and it's this whole new experience for them. So I did expect that my car was going to probably impress him a little bit. I was unprepared for the level of impressed that this guy hit though. When I rolled up in my car, right, he lost his shit. It was like Christmas and his birthday, like all rolled into one. He was so excited, and he was so excited that he wanted to drive it. And I was like, second date. I'm not there yet. Like, to have somebody drive my car, that's like a level of trust you want to like build up to, when you can be like, hey babe, can you drive? Like, that's like a more relationship level. That's not second date level. But you know how it is sometimes. You're like, oh, all right, cool. He was very persistent and insistent in asking me, and to be honest, he's a 6'4" giant. I felt a little bit intimidated, and I actually said, all right, fine. The middle of the date, we just had lunch, and I said, okay, fine, you can drive. So I let him drive, and at first I was like, okay, let me relax a little bit, because his attitude was, you know, like, let me take care of you, let me be in control. I was like, okay, I have a little bit of resistance to that because I'm an independent woman, and I kind of like doing things my way. But you know, I would welcome a man leading and, you know, taking care of me in a way. So when he said that he wanted to drive, it was with the idea that he had a plan for the date, right? And he wanted to take us to Palm Beach, which is on the northern beaches of Sydney. And I was like, oh, well, if you have a plan, and if that plan is about me and it's about the date, then maybe I can relax a little bit and go with the flow here. So I let him drive, right? And we crossed the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and I live on the south side of the bridge, so I don't often cross the bridge. So I was like, when we crossed the bridge, I was like, where are we going? And then I was like, then I saw him take out his phone and look at Google Maps, and I was like, where are we going? Where do you want to go? And it turns out that this guy drove my car to a suburb where they have this particular store that he is obsessed with. It's kind of like in Australia, it's like our version of Whole Foods. It's like it's a cafe, kind of organic, natural restaurant, coffee shop kind of thing. And it's a franchise, so there are tons of them around Sydney, but he hadn't been to this one in this particular neighborhood in a while. And I think it occurred to him that, oh my god, I have a car, let me drive to this store. And I was like, whoa, so you got in my car and you drove me to the other side of the city so you could go to this coffee shop place. What? I was livid. But you know, it's an interesting interplay, right? And I'm sure you guys have all been there, where something's happening in a date and your brain is trying to like corroborate the information, and you're going, how mad should I be? I'm still on the date. Like, should I explode? Should I see where this goes, right? So I said to him, listen, I'm upset. I'm not having fun right now. This is when we were, by the time we had parked and we were actually in the cafe. Can I tell you, homeboy went and bought himself something to eat and didn't buy me anything. What am I doing here? It's a date from hell, right? But finally, after he had gotten something to eat, he then said, okay, let's go have dinner. I was like, okay, if you're willing, if we're gonna feed me, then I might calm down a little bit, right? So, but I thought he had a plan around a specific restaurant in that area that he wanted to take me to. You know, I was still thinking that maybe this was still about me in some way, or about the date. We're walking around trying to find a restaurant, and at this moment I'm upset because I'm like, you don't know what restaurant you want to go to? Like, why are we walking around trying to look for one? Didn't you have this figured out before you drove my car across Sydney Harbour Bridge? So I said to him, why are we even in this neighborhood? Check the answer the brethren give me. Him said because his ex-girlfriend used to play basketball around the corner, and when he was waiting for her to finish playing, like, he would just kind of walk around this area, and so he really liked it. And I was like, your ex-girlfriend. So you, on our second date, you're taking me to a place that you used to hang out with your ex, and you told me this dude, like, you couldn't make something up? I don't understand. So I was like, I was angry at this point, right? But he promised me dinner, so I was going to make sure that at least I got fed. So we went to the rest of the date. Actually didn't end up being so bad because we ended up going to a Jamaican restaurant that I really like, which wasn't far from where we were. I was like, fine, since we're already on the other side of the Harbour Bridge, we might as well go up to Manly, where there's this really cool Jamaican restaurant. So we ended up going there. They were playing dancehall music. We had dinner. You know, it ended up being a decent night, right? But the next day, I was like, did that guy really use me just to go to this cafe place that he hadn't been to before, to walk around to a neighborhood that he had been to with his ex-girlfriend? Like, did I just get used? You know? So, of course, he was still pursuing me, right? So, he would text me and he was calling me, and it took me a while for me to actually get my thoughts organized to actually verbalize it to him. And in the meantime, he actually sent me this emoji about what our next date should be, and it was a gif of Fuzzy the Bear and Kermit the Frog in a car driving, right? And it said road trip. And I was like, well, okay, so for our next date, the key thing is that we're driving and it looks like it's my car. And I was like, so who's Fuzzy the Bear and who's Kermit the Frog? And he said, oh, who's the one that's driving? I'm like, it's my car. It's my car. How am I Kermit the Frog in this gif, right? How am I Kermit the Frog and the passenger in my own car? So I said, listen, that's not okay, right? I said it's not appropriate for you to kind of insist on driving my car on a second date. I said, you gotta earn that. That's not something that happens overnight. That's a trust thing, number one. Number two, how the heck, why do you think it was okay for you to then just drive to somewhere to where you wanted to go? I'm like, none of this is cool, right? And his response was, because I like to drive cars, well, he said in a really strange German accent. He was like, because I like to drive car. I was like, oh my god, we done, homeboy. This is not going anywhere. So you know what, I let it sit for a little bit, and he texted and he called me a few more times, and eventually I just sent him a text saying, listen, you seem like a decent person, but this is not going anywhere. I don't think we should see each other again. And he accepted that. But oh my gosh, it was just like, it's funny what people pull out, right? And you know, I could have, because he seemed like, apart from that, he kind of seemed like a decent guy, and I did like him a little bit. You know, it would have been very easy for me to kind of let that kind of slide, you know, maybe because, you know, he did have a lot of things going for him. But I'm glad that I was like, you know what, that shows that maybe he's very domineering, maybe, you know, he's kind of controlling, and that's not the kind, and I'm a very strong woman, right? So that already showed me that he and I are not a match. So I'm glad I let that one go. For more dating stories, go to my blog, contentedby@lisacamille.com, and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well.